Hi, I'm Ryan Deeter, and welcome back to another local Columbus video. I'm here with Whitney Varnau, and with She Has a Name, a local nonprofit here, and that works with women in sex trafficking. And so she's going to tell us a little about herself before we jump into the organization itself. So Whitney, tell us a little about yourself and how you got involved in this organization, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Like Ryan said, my name is Whitney Varnau. I'm the Community Engagement Director at She Has a Name. And so I've been on staff for going on 3 years now. I actually started as a volunteer,
Cool.
which I think is cool. So I worked for another organization after I graduated in 2013. In volunteering, I always cared deeply about human trafficking, and so a job opened up for me, I guess January 2018, so we're 2.5 going on 3 years, and I've been on staff ever since, so
Cool.
Pretty great.
So how did you hear about She Has a Name? You said you're starting as a volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's such a lame story because I actually cannot remember, but I think it's just one of those names that sticks out to you. So I had a couple of friends I know who volunteered in different capacities, and She Has a Name's been around for a long time, and so if you Google human trafficking in Columbus, Ohio, we will probably pop up. So I think I just heard the name and it stuck, and so that's how I ended up.
Yeah, when I first heard about it too, it's like it is one of those names where it's just like, what is that? Like, so you look into it and okay, that makes sense. What a cool name.
Totally.
So with that said, tell us a little bit about She Has a Name and what it does, and obviously talk about it's there to end sex trafficking. But what's your kind of your niche in that atmosphere?
So like I said, She Has a Name's been around since 2010, and I'll give you my quick Shan spiel or whatever.
Perfect.
So there was actually a group of women from a local church who heard about the issue, thought it was a big deal, trademarked the name, put it on some t-shirts, started selling them and giving the proceeds to different nonprofits in Columbus.
Okay. So you started as a t-shirt company?
Yes, just selling t-shirts and raising funds for the cause.
How cool is that?
Literally all we did until about 2013, 2014. The group of women moved away and they handed over She Has a Name to the church. And since then we're our own nonprofit. We have been for a while, but we still have a great relationship with the church. But through that transition came our 3 pillars of programming. So we focus on education, advocacy, and care. So we're probably best known for education. We train over 1,000 people a year in how to respond, which is really important right now. There's a lot of misconceptions and arguments about human trafficking, and so we really step into that space. So we do public trainings and we get booked for private trainings. So we've trained Grant Medical Center and the Ohio School Board Association. I trained a fraternity once. So we've trained in a variety of settings. And then advocacy, we do a lot of work in the legislative sphere and with advocating for other partners and survivor-led organizations. And then finally, the care pillar, we're working with kind of a bunch of different aspects of it, but we run a bunch of support groups for various people in their recovery journey, whether that's day 1 or day 1,000. We have a lot of different support groups that we're managing, and we manage a couple scholarship funds that we're excited about. So, and we have some new programs we're launching this fall that are going to be announced at our gala, so I'm pretty excited about those too.
Yeah, how cool. We'll get to the gala here soon, but I got a couple questions.
New programs coming.
Yes, I got a couple questions before we get there.
Yeah.
So I've done the education, and it's great. It's fantastic. You guys, when I did it, it was like once a week for 3 weeks.
Yep.
And then you guys also have weekend courses as well?
Same thing. We go back and forth between weekdays and weekends.
Okay.
To help people.
Very accessible to get to. It's good time, a couple hours, commitment. It's fantastic. Highly recommend it for anyone that lives in Columbus, really. So then I want to get into the legislation side. What are some of the issues that you're kind of tackling right now and things that maybe people aren't aware of?
Yeah, I am not an expert in legislation. Our executive director is.
Well, good.
But I know we are advocating for raising the age of consent in the state of Ohio from 16 to 18.
Wow.
So that is a bill that our executive director just testified on behalf of. And then there's a bunch of different things floating around in the demand reduction realm, like how to address that aspect of trafficking, because there's 2 sides, buying and selling, and so trying to figure out the best way to approach it. But it's a really nuanced, complex topic, and so I don't think any community has figured out exactly how to respond, and so we're learning as we go. And I think that there's some exciting pieces of legislation that I think can support survivors in our community pretty well. So,
it's like any legislation. It's unfortunately, there's a reason we have to have it. We try to do what we can and make it better. But
the macro and the micro
yes,
level, we have to approach it.
Exactly. So, and then you mentioned something there about both sides, the buying and selling. It's something during the education that I didn't really. You don't really think about a whole lot of okay, you think about sex trafficking and the what's going on that, but there's a lot of issues there that I think can really raise your awareness if you take that class and the courses that are just fantastic. It was remind me the third pillar, the program, care, program. So tell us, what's one of your highlights with one of the programs, maybe one of the stories that you can share.
Yeah, I think it kind of ties into advocacy and care a little bit, because one aspect of advocacy is really strong partnerships in our community.
Yeah.
And we have those, and so we're able to care for survivors in a lot of different ways. But just a couple weeks ago, we got a phone call from a woman who was ready to leave the life locally, and we're not a safe house, so we don't have the resources to take her to a safe house immediately, but we know those resources. So she knew to call us. She knew, again, the name that sticks with you. Somehow she heard about She Has a Name, so she called us, and we were able to stay on the phone with her, call one of our partner organizations who was going to pick her up and get her to a safe house. And we stayed on the phone with her the whole time until the arrangement happened, until she was taken to a safe space. So that was pretty cool. I feel like, to be able to step into that space, which we're not. We don't necessarily have a program that runs safe housing, but we are partnered with people who do, and so we get to play a role in helping bridge that gap. So that's a pretty cool story, but we do, again, have some really exciting support groups and getting to see. We have a group that's called the Thrivers Group, and so those are for women who are further along in their recovery journey, and we would consider them leaders in the community, and so they need additional support. They'll need additional support, and so we do a lot of hard work, and we want to provide spaces for them to have to. So the Thrivers Group is really exciting, getting to care for those leaders as well.
Yeah, because they can speak into other people's lives that have been in their shoes, and they know, and that's the best.
And that could be a drain for them to be constantly leading, and so to find a space for them where they can just chill and have been cared for in their own way, I think is really important. So I do love that program.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing that stuff. And you guys do a really good job of not just you do a really good job in your space, but also partner with people in other spaces. You mentioned you're not a care facility, but yet you have really strong ties to people that are and can pinpoint people there. So anywhere along the journey, people can reach out to you and get plugged in, which is great. That's why I think She Has a Name is such a great organization here and doing such great things in the community. That's something I think Columbus as a whole really does well, is collaborate. And in this world is no different. So we appreciate you guys doing that. So what's been one of the biggest lessons or just some things you've taken away by working with She Has a Name for, we say, 3-4 years now?
Yeah. 3-ish years.
Okay.
I mean, volunteering for a while, so it's like it gets all muddy because it was volunteer first. Lessons that I've taken away through working at our organization. I feel really strongly that there are a lot of misconceptions about human trafficking, and a lot of those narratives get perpetuated through social media and different things like that. And so I love getting to support the community through education primarily, but teaching people what's true and teaching people how they can respond, because it's important to empower the community, because human trafficking is such a dark, heavy topic, and sometimes we just feel paralyzed by it, especially when you constantly see news running around. And so to give people the tools and the resources to accurately identify and to support people, I think is really cool. And so that's a lesson I've learned, is just being able to educate. I have the skills to do that, know what I'm talking about. And then again, I think She Has a Name has taught me a lot about collaboration, and they do it really. That's one of the things I'm proudest of as an organization, is we do that really well. I think we're one of the few organizations that is uplifting other organizations. Even at our training, we don't really talk about ourselves, we talk about the other groups. And so I just think that's really sweet, and I love getting to be a part of that.
As much as you love nonprofits, you don't see that very often. A lot of times it's just we gotta fundraise, keep our books
Yeah, I
going.
mean, you gotta compete for resources.
Yeah, it really is, and so, but I love, and I've seen this firsthand how you guys do collaborate and really push people. Like, if your passion's not here, there's ways and spaces for you to get involved, and they're just a starting. It's a great, if you want to get involved in helping with human trafficking, She Has a Name is the perfect step to start. Because if you want to get more nitty gritty, hands on, working in the safe houses and stuff like that, they can get you into those spaces. But having the education before you go there though is vital, and so that's why She Has a Name is such a good starting point.
And a lot of our partners require people to go through our training first. Yep. So if you wanted to work in a couple of the drop-in centers or street outreaches, you go to our training first, and then you're equipped to go out. Yeah, and them. So it's great space.
Yeah, it's perfect. So where do you see She Has a Name, in 5-10 years from now?
Oh man, I think we just talked through our strategic plan fairly recently, and so many dreams, so many things we'd love to do. But I do know one thing, and honestly, COVID's kind of spurred that on more. We've always wanted to take our training beyond Central Ohio. We get requests all the time for even international requests to do trainings, and it's just kind of awkward because it's mostly geared towards Central Ohio. But I would love to see our training be able to be a curriculum that can be sent to different communities. So a digital learning platform is what we like to call it. So what would that look like to educate people in England and educate people in different different communities. So I'd be excited about that. Also, some of the different programs that we're expanding this year, just to be able to serve and offer more scholarships to survivors, and also just digging in a little deeper with what that could look like.
Both a local and international impact. I think that's great. And I love hearing the idea of something that started here in Central Ohio, going out and helping lives throughout the world, essentially making something.
And we have volunteers who we've trained here, and then they've moved out of state and will call me and say, hey, can I do your training in Pittsburgh? And I can kind of help them tailor it, but so I would love to be able to make that more accessible.
So you definitely see a need for that in other cities and stuff like that. So,
I get random requests all the time for out of just different communities excited about needing more training. I usually try to help them find if there's a training in their area first, but again, it seems like people gravitate towards our Google search. So
if you know anyone internationally looking for it, hey, it's coming.
It's coming. Hopefully,
it's coming. Hang on. How cool is that? So speaking of local, what there's a couple events coming up we want to highlight. So if you want to get involved, you want to check out She Has a Name, or just support She Has a Name. There's a couple events that you can do that too.
So first of all, our next training is in November. So if you're excited about getting involved in going through our training process, it's another online training, and you can find more info on our website. That's if you email me, that's where I'm going to.
If you Google She Has a Name,
I'm going to tell you to go to training. And then our gala. So it's our largest fundraiser of the year, and it's normally an awesome celebration party in person, but obviously that's not happening this year. So we are doing it completely virtually, which is not a new concept this year. As there's been a lot of virtual fundraisers.
People are used to it now.
Yeah, but I am really excited about it. I think it's going to be a really fun opportunity for people to support the cause in a really unique way. And I promise it's not going to be another Zoom call. It's going to be a pretty cool event. And so I really hope people can come out, and I need something to look forward to. I have nothing on my calendar. So I'm this is something people can look forward to, an event. Cool. So check out the gala too. It's going to be really, really fun. So,
what's the date for that?
November 7th.
November 7th. Okay.
Again, it's usually a Thursday, but in light of OSU football being canceled, rest in peace, it is now a Saturday.
Okay.
So you have something to do now.
Yeah, so on Saturdays, something to do. So can you give us a hint of what's unique about it?
So there's this cool platform that I don't know. It feels like a game when you're using it, but it's really exciting. Our online auction, our silent auction, is really, really cool. We have some vacations, Hocking Hills cabins, and different things that I just desperately need. But
alone, that's worth coming for.
Yeah, and there's lots of surprises.
Yes.
So I think you'll want to be a part of it.
Okay. Well, good to hear. Good to hear. Okay, so you've already mentioned a couple things, but just wrap this up. Where can people learn more about She Has a Name? And kind of go from there.
SheHasAName.org/learn is where you'll find a lot of our information on training, and that's probably where people go to our website the most for to learn about training. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. like our stuff and share it. Those are great spaces to start. And if you need help getting involved in other organizations, that's literally my job, is to help people figure out the best space for them. So I'd love to help.
Yeah. So feel free to reach out to Whitney. Myself will be happy to plug you in there as well. Thanks, Whitney, for doing this. Really appreciate your time.